This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Making Putin pay. Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. As peace talks stall in Eastern Europe, President Trump may slap new sanctions on Moscow. He says Russian ruler Vladimir Putin has gone crazy, adding,
"He's killing a lot of people. I'm not happy about that."
Over the weekend, Russia launched more than 900 drones and missiles at dozens of targets in Ukraine. Reporter Madeline Rivera.
On Capitol Hill, pressure is growing for President Trump to take tougher action against Russia, especially after it launched its largest drone and missile attack against Ukraine over the weekend.
Those attacks in more than 30 Ukrainian cities left a dozen Ukrainians dead, including 3 children. Keith Kellogg's a retired Army general and special envoy to Ukraine.
This war's gone on way too long. President Trump is absolutely right. You've got to stop the killing. When you look at the numbers that are just, I call it industrial strength killing. When you've got casualties on both sides that are over 1 million, and right now conservatively we're talking 1.2 million, that is stunning when it comes to it.
Russia says any sanctions imposed by the Trump administration would effectively kill the peace talks. Wall Street stocks sharply higher today on word of another Trump tariff delay. The White House is delaying that 50% tax on goods imported from the EU.
The White House is saying they're going to delay this. Now we'll see those tariffs maybe go into effect on July 9th, at least for now. That gives a little bit more time for those conversations to take place, and both sides say they're essentially speeding up those talks.
Willie James Inman at the White House today. President Trump upping the ante in his feud with Harvard University, even as that Ivy League school prepares for commencement exercises later this week. Trump wants to divert billions in aid for Harvard and give it instead to trade schools. The Trump administration says Harvard has failed to crack down on anti-Semitic activity. Severe weather causing thousands of flight delays over the long holiday weekend. That ripple effect still being felt today. Things got backed up big time in cities like Denver, Dallas, San Francisco, and L.A. Reporter Meg Oliver says, welcome to summer travel.
The FAA has assured Americans that air travel is safe. However, whether it will be consistent throughout the summer months is another question. So all anyone can do right now as they work to fix the aging infrastructure is just to really use some common sense guidelines, right? Pack your patience, arrive at the airport early, try to be flexible, and try not to get upset if things don't go your way.
8 down, 2 to go. 3 more inmates who escaped from a New Orleans jail are back in custody. They were part of the 10 that broke out 10 days ago in what authorities are calling an inside job.
Around 6 Monday evening, the 6th arrest was made by Baton Rouge police. Police say they received an anonymous tip. About an hour later, we learned 2 more inmates were captured by Texas authorities in Walker County. That's about 75 miles north of Houston. That leaves 2 inmates on the run.
Reporter Lily Cummings says 13 people have been charged with aiding in that escape. A manhunt underway in Arkansas for an escaped inmate who's serving time for rape and murder. He's a former police chief. Authorities say he got loose by impersonating a guard. The local mayor, Cheryl Tillman.
This crazy guy has escaped. He should have got life, but things happened. This time, they need to throw away the key.
But they got to catch him first. Authorities think the ex-cop is still in the area. A statewide manhunt underway there in Arkansas. Mass shooting in Philadelphia. 2 dead, 9 injured. 3 of the wounded are teenagers. That shooting happened at a public park where young people had gathered for a Memorial Day car meetup.
It is a challenge when individuals decide that they're going to fire into a crowd. That's something that we can't anticipate.
Philly Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel. Former New York Congressman Charlie Rangel has died, the Harlem Democrat, the first black to chair the powerful Ways and Means Committee. Rangel was a founding member of the Congressional Black Caucus, but an ethics scandal tarnished his decades-long career in politics. Charlie Rangel was 94. King Charles is in Canada today to open a new session of Parliament. That's something a royal hasn't done in almost 50 years.
King Charles came all the way to Ottawa just to open the new session of Parliament, something Queen Elizabeth last did in 1977. But this time it's not purely ceremonial. Prime Minister Carney invited the king, admittedly, to send a message to the White House about unity with Great Britain amid taunts of making Canada the 51st state.
Chris Mavridis reporting a British South African endurance swimmer has become the first person to swim around Martha's Vineyard. 55-year-old Lewis Pugh completed that 62-mile trek in 12 days. He did it to raise awareness about the plight of sharks as the film Jaws nears its 50th anniversary.
He made the landmark attempt in 47-degree water to change people's perception of sharks.
I want people to be able to look at sharks very, very differently. They are apex predators and they are absolutely essential for a healthy ocean. They keep our ocean in balance.
Jaws was actually filmed on Martha's Vineyard, with director Steven Spielberg later expressing regret that people became so afraid of sharks from the film.
Matt Piper reporting a new study by the American Bible Society shows a noticeable uptick in Bible reading, especially among young men. Millennials saw a 29% increase in Bible use from 2024 to 2025. Among Gen Zers, scripture reading rose from 11% last year to 15% this year. Overall Bible use is up from 38% to 41%. Still to come on the Noon Report, Cornell wins lacrosse title, the 100 deadliest days, and the hardest words to spell. We have that list after this.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams. A nice enough day today weather-wise, but another round of cool, showery weather is just around the corner. Forecast details are up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. News where you live next. We are now in what's infamously known as the 100 deadliest days. That period between Memorial Day and Labor Day when traffic accidents are at their highest rate of any time during the year. New York State Police spokesman James O'Callahan has the following advice to the parents of young drivers.
Be the role model as a parent. Don't drive distracted. Don't drive intoxicated. Have that talk with your kids because they are behind the wheel of your car, and obviously we want a fun summer, right? We waited all this time and you don't want to spend it at the funeral home or doing something devastating like that.
AAA says during the summer months there's a 14% increase in fatal accidents involving teenagers. A new law banning cell phone use while driving takes effect in just 1 week in Pennsylvania.
As of Thursday, June 5th, if your phone is in your hand or on your lap, or if you touch it at a stop during a traffic light, you could get a ticket in the Keystone State. Trooper Rocco Gagliardi.
No body part can maintain that phone. So it's not just holding it. I know a lot of drivers put that phone on their lap, and that's going to be illegal.
If the phone is mounted in your car, you are allowed to touch it to take a call. The new law is named after Paul Miller Jr., who was killed in a crash in Pennsylvania after a tractor-trailer driver reached for their phone while at the wheel. Sarah Harnish, Family Life News.
Pennsylvania State Senator Wayne Langerholk is speaking out against Penn State's decision to close 7 branch campuses.
It's disheartening to see them pull out and leave rural Pennsylvania at a loss here. So we will meet the challenges that this presents.
The Republican politician is concerned about what the closures will mean for higher education in rural areas.
We've been in talks and will continue to talk with any entity that believes in rural Pennsylvania and wants to invest. And we have incredible people in this region. We have an incredible work ethic. We have incredible knowledge. We have incredible drive.
The 7 Penn State campuses set set to close after the spring of 2027. Those closures need approval from the state education department as well as Governor Shapiro. The governor says he supports the downsizing effort. The case against the man accused of setting fire to the governor's mansion has been delayed. An update on that Pennsylvania story from Family Life's Mark Webster.
Yeah, the suspect, Cody Balmer, had been scheduled to appear in court tomorrow for a hearing to determine whether prosecutors have enough evidence to proceed to trial. But Balmer's public defender says the hearing will be postponed because Balmer is receiving mental health treatment. Balmer, accused in the arson attack hours after Governor Shapiro and family members marked the Jewish Passover at the residence, told police he'd planned to attack the governor with a hammer if he found him in the mansion. No one was injured, but the fire caused millions of dollars in damage and prompted a revamp of security protocols there. Mark Webster, Family Life News.
First responders in Yates County, New York, spent part of their Memorial Day holiday rescuing two teenage hikers. Rope crews called in to help extricate that pair. They'd slid off a trail in Clark Gully. That's on the southeast end of Canandaigua Lake. Naples Fire Chief C.J. Stevens telling Wham! News.
In this area, nice weather. It's not uncommon to be out 1 or 2 times a day. Today being a holiday, everybody's out enjoying the weather, and unfortunately, there was an incident today.
The teen slipped 20 to 30 feet. The chief says they were a little shaken up, but suffered no major damage. Muddy conditions from recent rains is what caused that mishap. The wait is over for Pennsylvanians eager for a new license plate.
People across Pennsylvania who filled out the early access form can now start to order the new Let Freedom Ring license plates. Governor Josh Shapiro unveiled the new plate and state welcome sign designs last year, ahead of America's 250th anniversary in 2026. Shapiro says the new license plates will celebrate America's heritage with the off-white plates containing an image of the Liberty Bell and the phrase "Let Freedom Ring" with blue and red lettering, a nod to Philadelphia. According to the state website, the new plates are available for standard vehicles and trucks, including personalized plates. It's the first significant redesign to Pennsylvania's license plates in over 20 years. Brian Query, Family Life News.
In honor of this week's Scripps National Spelling Bee, a new study reveals the most commonly misspelled words in America.
The company Word Unscrambler used Google search data to determine the most misspelled words. Here they are. Nationally, the top 5 most misspelled words are definitely, separate, necessary, believe, and through. I'm Mark Mayfield.
All right, Mark, thank you. None of those words should be especially tough for the over 240 students who'll be competing in this year's National Spelling Bee. Kicks off today in Maryland. For the first time since 1977, the Cornell University men's lacrosse team is national champs. How about that? The top-ranked Big Red held off number 2 Maryland at Gillette Stadium yesterday in Foxborough, Massachusetts.
Season has been incredible. This has been our dream. When you walk out there for warm-ups and you see that sea of red, you see all the alums that you played with, that support us every single day. Our families who, have put in all the work from when we were little kids to be on this stage. It was special and, obviously one I'll never forget.
Cornell star C.J. Kirst, the national title is the 4th in Cornell's men's lacrosse history. Way to go, Big Red. More sports next. It's the 2-minute drill on Family Life.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the Thunder just 1 win away from playing in the NBA championships after edging the T-Wolves 128-126 in Game 4 from Minneapolis. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander once again led the way. He scored 40 points for Oklahoma City. The Thunder will host Game 5 tomorrow, and they'll try to win this series in 5. To baseball, Anthony Volpe had the big hit against the Angels, hitting a bases-clearing double, leading the Yankees to a 5-1 victory. The Yanks have now won 3 straight and 7 of their last 8. The New York Mets have also won 3 in a row after a walk-off sac fly in the 9th by Francisco Lindor. 2-1 was the final as the Amazons down the White Sox. The Pittsburgh Pirates continue to struggle. They were in Phoenix to play the D-backs, and Arizona blanked them 5-0. Elsewhere around the diamond, Toronto edged Texas 2-1. For the second straight game, Shohei Ohtani hit a leadoff home run, and the Dodgers went on to beat Cleveland 7-2. Cubbies 3-1 winners over the Rockies. The Padres outlasted the Marlins in 11 innings 4-3. The Giants fell to Detroit 3-1. Milwaukee edged Boston 3-2. The Orioles 5-2 winners over the Cardinals, and the Reds knocked off Kansas City 7-4. And on the ice, with their season on the line, their backs against the wall, the Carolina Hurricanes found a way to play their best hockey. They staved off an elimination sweep by blanking the Florida Panthers 3-0, but the Canes have a long road back as Florida still leads 3-1. That is a look at sports.
Thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report. Russia-Ukraine peace talks stall. Trump hammers Harvard, and in search of Noah's Ark.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm Shane Morris. There are plenty of things to critique about the working theory of evolution. For instance, there is the problem of irreducible complexity, which refers to how living things are elegantly built using an apparent minimum of parts and could therefore not have evolved step by step from simpler forms. There's also the problem of the missing transitional forms in the fossil record, especially in layers like the Cambrian, where there is an apparent explosion of new life forms without ancestors. Charles Darwin himself was flummoxed by the uncooperativeness of this part of the fossil record for his theory. And then there's the problem of information in DNA, which is at the heart of all life. For evolution to happen, vast new amounts of information would be needed. Yet, as philosopher of scientist Stephen Meyer has argued, our uniform and repeated experience teaches us that information comes only from a designing intelligence, not from unguided natural processes. All of these are real problems with the real theory of evolution as it is currently understood by scientists and taught in classrooms. And each problem deserves to be widely explained and taken seriously rather than evolution being treated uncritically as settled science. Yet in the age of social media and now artificial intelligence, there is another problem. What many people think is Darwinian evolution isn't Darwinian evolution at all. Instead, it is a mashup of popular depictions, viral videos, and even advertising that bears little resemblance to what evolutionary scientists actually believe and defend. And this matters because the first step to debating a theory's merits is in fact understanding the theory. If the version of evolution in people's minds owes more to pop culture than paleontology, arguments for and against it will both be misguided and pointless. One such popularized and oversimplified version of evolution recently went viral on X. In a 1-minute video shared by the Science Girl account with its nearly 3 million followers, a series of AI-generated creatures, each labeled, morph into one another, supposedly showing the evolutionary history of elephants. Set to a sort of electronic Gregorian chant, this bizarre clip begins with a shrimp-like creature 505 million years ago, proceeds through an ancient squid, a fish, various reptiles, a host of mammals more or less beginning to resemble elephants, until finally it ends in the present day with an AI-generated elephant. The video received tens of thousands of likes and was shared thousands of times, including by some Christian authors who used it to poke fun at evolution. Many left comments like, "Imagine believing this instead of that God just made elephants." Others defending the video insisted that evolution is literally proven by science. Now, lost in all of this, both for those who liked the video and for those who laughed at it, was that it was entirely AI-generated rubbish. In the end, what millions were shown was a selection of random creatures from different supposed geological eras morphing into one another Pokemon style, implying a direct evolutionary chain. Not even committed Darwinists believe this chain looks anything like what happened. Christians and others are rightly skeptical of the scientific consensus on certain issues, Darwinian evolution among them. But that same skepticism and commitment to the truth should lead us to question the actual theories taught that belie God's design, not the AI Pokemon versions. For the Colson Center, I'm Shane Morris.
All right, thank you, Shane. Outside next, Kevin Williams.
Here is your Family Life weather forecast for this afternoon. Turning out mainly cloudy across western Pennsylvania and southwest New York. Fading sunshine elsewhere, but relatively warm. High temperatures, 70s for most. 60s close to Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. Then tonight and tomorrow will turn out cloudy. Showers will reach areas near Lake Erie overnight tonight and continue across the board tomorrow. Low temps tonight, mild 50s. High temps tomorrow, cooler than today, 60s. Thursday, mainly cloudy with some showers and high temperatures in the 60s to near 70.
All right, thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report. I'm your host, Bob Price. Lots to get to. Tuesday, the 27th of May. War of the words. The U.S. and Russia trading insults as peace talks stall between Moscow and Kyiv. President Trump says Vladimir Putin has gone absolutely crazy after firing more than 900 missiles and drones at 30 cities in Ukraine over the weekend. Now the White House is talking about slapping sanctions on Russia.
Now, the White House has said all options are on the table when it comes to getting peace, but it wants to see this war end as soon as possible.
Mark Meredith at Fox News. President Trump may divert billions of dollars meant for Harvard and give it instead to trade schools. The president is upset with Harvard for not doing more to combat anti-Semitism on campus. Jared Kaufman with Kaufman Construction says investing in trade schools is a good idea.
Right now, homes in the United States are the most expensive they've ever been. And I can also personally attest to the fact that trade education and the skilled labor that's actually building these houses is the least educated they've ever been.
Kaufman says the stigma surrounding trade schools is changing.
I went to trade school for welding for 2 years before I got into carpentry, actually. Growing up, there was this sort of idea that seeing someone in construction, if you're in the car with your kids, you might say like, hey, you don't want to do something like that. Make sure you go to school so you can be a doctor or a lawyer or something cool and flashy. And nowadays, that's actually starting to change a little bit.
The president wants to divert as much as $3 billion from Harvard, which will be holding its commencement exercises later this week. Authorities have captured 3 more of the 10 inmates who broke out of a New Orleans jail 10 days ago. That leaves just 2 left on the lam. 13 people in all have been charged in the jailbreak, which officials are calling an inside job. A former Arkansas police chief is on the run after breaking out of prison. This guy was serving a 30-year sentence for rape and murder. Cops say the former chief of police was able to break out of prison by impersonating a guard. Airports, roads, and rails all packed over the busy Memorial Day holiday, the busiest Memorial Day holiday on record. This passenger was prepared, though, at Logan Airport in Boston.
We just decided, just roll with it, leave enough time.
Millions of travelers, however, were hit with delays and bad weather.
The FlightAware Misery Map reports flyers at airports in Texas and Colorado were the most affected by far. About 1,000 flights to and from the Dallas-Fort Worth and Denver airports were delayed into Monday night. There were also significant delays at airports in Houston. Forecasters are predicting more storms today, likely affecting more flights.
Correspondent Christopher Cruz, at least 47 people were injured when a minivan plowed into a crowd of celebrating soccer fans. It happened in Liverpool, England. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
My thoughts and the thoughts of the whole country will be with everybody in Liverpool today.
The police say this 53-year-old British driver acted alone. The incident is not being investigated as an act of terrorism. You're plugged into the Noon Report, a Tuesday edition, right here on Family Life.
Combining the gospel and living in God's creation to reach troubled young men. That's the goal of Bald Eagle Camp near Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, a structured wilderness therapy camp helping boys overcome life challenges and build resilience. Our guest on this edition of Hometown Heroes is Camp Director Laverne Beachy. Tell me how Bald Eagle Boys Camp was hatched.
Back in the early 90s, there was a group of men that got their heads together and said, you know what, there's a need for a place where troubled boys can get help with their emotional problems, whatever they're facing. There was a camp similar to what they had in mind down in South Carolina, which they visited and said, you know, why can't we do something like that here in Pennsylvania? And that was kind of where it hatched. in the Lancaster area. And we started looking for land. We ended up buying property just north of Lock Haven in 93, something like that. And then we started camp in 1995 for a license program for 40 boys, and started off just with a couple boys and then expand to 3 to 5. And then we have 4 groups of 10 currently.
This is not just your typical kids' summer camp where you ship them off for a week or two and they have fun and whittle sticks and stuff. This is something more involved, isn't it?
Yes, we're a therapeutic year-round program, and we're here to especially help boys that, just emotionally and behavioral problems primarily. Kids that are just getting in trouble a lot, maybe in school and maybe just at home. We're a year-round program, and we're teaching responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions. And so the way we go about that is we live in a group of 10 boys, 2 counselors in each group, and we're teaching how to do family in a lot of ways. They live in the woods. They build their own campsite. Each campsite would consist of, 10, 11 tents or so. There's tents to sleep in. There's tents that they cook in. There's a wood tent. There's, a variety of tents that serve various purposes. But the responsibility of the boys are to build their campsite and then maintain it. They take care of it. They build the tents. And by taking care of their own campsite, ownership is then built into the program where they obviously care about the things that they build. And so a lot of ownership. And as far as just living as a group, we teach that you should, come to camp to help yourself and help others. That's why you should come to camp. You have something valuable to teach, and you can learn a lot from other boys your age. Being led by a couple counselors, we have 2 rules at camp. We do everything as a group, and we do it in a good attitude. And any time that we're not doing something as a group, or a boy refuses to help out or is not in a good attitude, the group will circle up, and we stand there together, talk about what the issue is, what we're upset about, whatever it might be, and talk about solutions for this problem. And then if there's something to take care of with somebody else, maybe they did something disrespectful or whatever it might have been, we take care of that problem right there. We solve the problem, we get a plan for next time, and we move on. So camp, we're solving problems with each other all the time. These boys, a lot of them have been to counseling centers and through therapies and different things, which, have their place, but there's something about living in the woods and being together as a group. Counseling is happening, but we're kind of living life, and we're living life as a family. We take time to solve our problems. That's one thing we have at camp. We have time. Unlike a lot of our, homes and so forth, at home, we have jobs, we have school, we have things we're doing. And so at camp, we can just stop and circle up, identify the problem, talk about the problem, and get back on track. A good functioning group is a pretty beautiful place to be. Graduation is based on evaluation, so it's kind of a decision made by the parents of the boy, as well as camp, and as well as his group. Mm-hmm. And when we feel like there's a lot of positive growth and he's ready to go home, we have a graduation for him. Typically, our boys are here about 18 months or so. In that time period, there's boys graduating, new boys coming. The group changes, but you try to maintain a good, stable, problem-solving type culture if you can.
It's got to be quite a bit of culture shock for a lot of these kids who are unplugging from their phones and all that, and suddenly they're out.
You're right.
It's got to be pretty shocking at first for them.
Yeah, it really is, especially for some boys. But it is really neat watching. The woods is the boys' world. It really is. And beautiful woods of Pennsylvania. And you have deer, we have birds, we have flowers, we have trees, we have worms and snakes, and there's just so much going on, not to mention just the weather that we get to live in. Just so much to learn and grow. Yeah, we are an educational program as well. We're considered an alternative education program. So we are doing school, but it's not your typical sit in a classroom type of school, but it's learning with the environment that we have around us. And so, boys, it is this culture shock. It's different, but it's really neat watching when boys start living in nature and start experiencing life with each other. The cell phones and the video games, they kind of miss it, but they do kind of adapt and kind of like how it feels, not needing that stuff all the time, too.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of adults could benefit from that.
Yeah, exactly.
So one big difference here for the way you approach this therapeutic camp is you deal not just with physical and emotional needs, but spiritual side as well.
Absolutely. So, our faith-based program. So we serve a lot of boys from a lot of varieties of backgrounds. And so every morning, we get up at 6:30 and do their tent chores. And then we gather together and usually go over a day's plans, maybe have a little devotional. And then we do our campsite chores and then come up to Chuck Wagon, which is our dining hall. Often for breakfast, we have sharing time time and then a devotional or at least a prayer. Sundays, we have outdoor chapel. And then Wednesday nights, we have what we call Vespers. The groups take turns leading out with that. And then probably the biggest way of just sharing our faith is just simply living life. And counselors are born-again Christians who care about loving people and loving them well and serving the Lord in that way. And boys, they feel taken care of. Seeing Jesus lived out daily is a way that we project our faith. Just living the life, and if boys are interested in knowing more, they know how to pursue that. It's not something we push on everybody. It's more like who we are, and it's really neat seeing boys respond to that as well.
Yeah, you must have seen some pretty neat turnarounds.
Really have. It's been really neat watching not only boys change, but families that just needed some tools maybe just to get back on the right track. And we have 3 family workers that work with our families of the boys. It's really neat watching them find new tools, new ways to build relationships at home, whether it be structures, new ideas, ways to communicate and connect with their boy. It's really exciting seeing the changes that happen, not only for boys, but families as well.
That's Laverne Beachy, director of Bald Eagle Camp near Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, using a combination of the gospel and living in God's creation to reach troubled young men. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Hometown Heroes comes your way every Tuesday during the noon report. You can subscribe, listen to, and share Hometown Heroes along with all our original podcasts at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or FamilyLife.org. Coming up after the break, In Search of Noah's Ark.
A very good afternoon to all. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. High pressure overhead producing a pleasant day today, although fading sunshine resulting from increasing high cloud coverage. Those high clouds are ahead of a disturbance in the heartland, set to bring us another round of cooler and showery weather for tomorrow and Thursday. In the meantime, for this afternoon, turning out mainly cloudy across western Pennsylvania and southwest New York. Fading sunshine elsewhere, but relatively warm. High temperatures, 70s for most, 60s close to Lake Erie, Lake Ontario. Then tonight and tomorrow will turn out cloudy. Showers will reach areas near Lake Erie overnight tonight and continue across the board tomorrow. Low temps tonight, mild 50s. High temps tomorrow, cooler than today, 60s. Thursday, mainly cloudy with some showers and high temperatures in the 60s to near 70.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Finally, at noon, researchers have unearthed compelling evidence, they say, of the remains of what could be Noah's Ark. Soil tests near the site in eastern Turkey have yielded promising results. Archaeologists have had their sights set on the Duripanar Formation near Mount Ararat since the 1950s. They think that is the best chance of being the final resting place of the biblical boat. Recent soil samples reveal that site once housed ancient wood. The Bible says Noah's Ark was made of gopher wood. According to experts, this 515-foot-long formation aligns exactly with the biblical dimensions of Noah's Ark. How about that? Scientists hope to do larger, more thorough soil tests on the site next year. And that's our world, the world we live in. Tuesday, May 27th. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.